distributions out of the way, we can actually control how distribution works and be actually able to measure it. Because that's the biggest problem, is how do you know how many people are using your application? If everything is going through app install, who knows? So if a developer wants to write an application for Linux, how can they measure how strong it is? Can they make money? Is the main thing. So the advantages are I can measure how popular an application is. A lot of you use Apple. You go to the Apple App Store. You know how many people like the application. You know, you get feedback. You know what's wrong with it. You know lots of things about this application. You know how popular it is. You know, and what the quality is. And you can make money out of it. Right? That's what I mean by a measurable market. So we could solve this problem by getting rid of the distributions from being the middleman. And a couple ideas we have, we can build application stores, just like the Apple Store a lot of you are used to. Man, you guys use a lot of Apple here. Apple Store, like there's a Starbucks in every corner. Just an observation. You have metadata to judge the application, and build ways to we can build ways to have that relationship between developers and users. So how do we make that happen? So I've laid out this idea that we want to move to a developer-centric model. So how does that happen? How do we move from that distro model to a developer-centric? So the GNOME project has developed a tool called Flatpak. And that provides us an application sandbox, meaning your application is going to be safe. It's going to run in a protected environment. The other thing it does is it lets you run on any distro. So the idea that I have to pick a distribution to run is no longer there. Because as long as you have a runtime, which is just basically an environment for which you can run under, you can take that out of the equation. So now that you have the entire market, it doesn't matter what Linux you're running, if you're running Fedora or Debian or anything, it's going to work. And it's going to work exactly how the application developer wants it to work. So it is basically it comes out of their whatever they see, whatever you see is what they see. So if you run into a problem, they know exactly it's the same problem. And they're going to see the same problem. The other thing is that the application controls how the distribution works. So they can either distribute it from an app store, they can distribute it from their own website, they can send it through by email, all sorts of ways to do that. And Matthias here is going to give a talk exactly like that later this afternoon. So it's a little outside the scope of this talk about how Flatpak works, but we have a great Flatpak talk later on, so I hope you'll attend that and get an idea from a technical point of view, or semi-technical point of view, of how Flatpak works and what it's capable of. So we went back and talking about application app stores. And part of this is, what are we doing today? And so, if you go back to the first slide there, we're talking about what are we doing today to make this thing happen? And one of them was the idea of creating an app store. And we're in the process of creating an application store called Flatpak. Still going under legal review, of course, but we already have over 100 applications available that you can install. And a lot of them are generally available directly from the developer. So this means that you go to the store, you can download the app, and you're done. A lot easier than trying to get it from your distro. And they have an opportunity to speak with you. The whole idea of how it's measurable, how many stars does it have, how many people like it, what are the conversations around it, all of those things that you're familiar as today in application, we're going to see that in Linux as well. But we have challenges. While I did bring a bit of a rosy view on how things are going with that, there's a lot of things that we have to be done. One, we need to have right tools. And if you ever worked on Windows or OS X, they have some fabulous developer tools. If you're using Visual Studios, I'm sure a lot of you know Visual Studio from Windows. There is X something, I don't remember on OS X. Xcode, thank you. Yes. So all these are great tools, and on the Linux side, it's a little more murky or a little harder to see what they are. But the GNOME project has come up with an IDE called GNOME Builder, and that is providing the next generation IDE that you would expect from a commercial product. And the best part is GNOME Builder already has support for Flatpak. That means you can build your application and directly build it to a Flatpak, and then distribute it to your friends, put it in the App Store, all of that. The other thing is documentation, which, for a lot of open source or free software projects, documentation has always been one of the hardest things to address. Because no matter, even if you have put everything in place, you still need to build the application. And if writing that application is difficult, then we still have a problem. So it should be easy to write an GNOME application. I'm sure you all agree that if it's too hard, you're going to give up and then we lose. So this has been a personal project of mine, is to build better documentation that all of us can use to make it easier. Even though I've been in GNOME for 20 years, I've never really written a GUI app. So after I've been writing a chat client for the past month or so, 2 months, and it's been difficult for me because I don't always understand all the ins and outs of how to write a GTK application. So I'm taking that experience and trying to figure out how to write documentation that anybody can understand. So where do we go from here? So one of those things we continue to do, meet in places like GNOME Asia. We have things called Hackfest or hackathons or code sprints, where I don't know what term you all use, to keep working on that too. To get together, hack together, make things work. That's one set. Last year I organized a conference called Libre Application Summit, which has a specific goal to create this ecosystem, to work with distributions, work with toolkits, work with application writers, so that we can actually work on building this ecosystem, so that we can have hundreds of thousands of apps. So that's another thing, is not being passive, but being aggressive. Then continue to enhance the Flatpak and FlatHub. And again, going back, documentation. Okay. Alright, so conclusion. The development, sorry, wrong one. The distro-centric model, I got a mistake on it. The distro-centric model is outdated. It was the right model at the time, but not anymore. We want to move on to a developer-centric model. We have tools like Builder that's going to help us build those applications, and we're going to work on documentation. So that's pretty much all I have today. I don't know how much time we have for questions, but thank you. Do you have any questions?
Well,